Hey, what's happening, guys? What's going on YouTube? You have tuned into Rules for Rebels, and as you may have guessed by the thumbnail and the screenshot you're looking at right now, we're going to be talking about selling a dog walking business. I really love service businesses. For anybody who's thinking about starting a business and wants it to be something that's pretty much cash flowing from day one, a service business is probably the fastest route to that. E-commerce, affiliate marketing, YouTube channels, blogs, a lot private labels, selling on Amazon, all this stuff typically costs money to get started and also typically takes some time to build up. Service businesses, something like dog walking. If you decided to start a dog walking business, like literally probably within the first day, first 2 to 3 days, definitely the first week, you're potentially out there soliciting business. You can potentially start working day one, day two, and actually bringing in money. And of course, it's going to take some time to build up a successful business, but service businesses are the quickest way to actually putting money in your pocket. But service businesses are a little bit less passive than a lot of other things. Like, yeah, you can scale it up, you can get employees and kind of get out of having to walk the dogs or mow the lawns or clean the windows or power wash the decks or whatever service business you get started. But that does take some time, and you normally are still involved in kind of the oversight of the business until you can get some good management in there. Anyhow, I'd wound up getting an email from somebody who had started a fairly profitable dog walking business, was making 40 to 50K annually, and she's moving across the country, so unfortunately won't be able to continue running this business. And so she was kind of looking for some guidance and some insight in regards to what are her options? Should she sell the business? Should she sell the client list? Should she try to do some type of profit sharing deal with somebody? Like, what's the best way to unload a business like this? What are the challenges with selling this type of business? So I'd love some input from you guys. If any of you guys have sold specifically a dog walking business, I'm sure I would love to hear from you, and I'm sure what's her name, Katrina. Would love to hear from you. That's who's selling the business. But also, I think any service business, if you ever sold a power washing business, a window washing business, a landscaping business, I think there's a lot of carryover into service businesses. And I think one thing that makes selling a service business more challenging is if you're kind of the business, if you're the name, if you're the brand, if you're the person people know and trust, it's going to be a lot harder to sell that business as opposed to if the business is more of an entity and you're just kind of behind the scenes running it. So I guess without further ado, we'll get into the email. Katrina says, "Hi everyone. I've been dog walking, pet sitting, and offering basic training and socialization full time for the last 2 years. When I started out, I had a few clients from Rover, and if you guys remember, we have talked about Rover in two different side hustle stories. So this side hustler here got her business started the same way that a lot of the others did. When I started out, I had a few clients from Rover, but word of mouth and my feet on the ground, self-promotion took over, and now I'm making 40 to 50K annually. That's really good. I have to move across the country, unfortunately, for some family-related stuff, and I don't want to leave my clients hanging. They've come to trust me, and most of their dogs know each other, so I'd like to keep them together. It occurred to me that I could sell the business or the client list, but I've never done anything like this before. I know most people don't have the liquid assets to outright buy it, so I've been pondering setting up a payment plan or something. I personally would suggest away from the payment plan just because with a dog walking business, there's not really much that's getting transferred. And we'll get into talking valuation and things like that in a moment. But with some businesses, when I sold my landscaping business, we had about $20,000 worth of supplies that we sold with the business. So there's something's coming with the business. With a lot of businesses, you might be getting real estate. Uh, there's a lot of other tangible assets that you might be getting with the business. With a dog walking business, all you're really selling is a client list. Yeah, there might be some policies and procedures, some best practices. Maybe you have an Excel sheet set up or some systems and processes in place. And there is some blue sky value or some blue sky money to those things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, all you're selling is a list of customers. And when you're doing something like a payment plan, if we agree on a sale price of $50,000 for your business, and I give you, even 5 grand up front, what's to stop me from not paying you the rest? I have your client list, I have your customers' emails and phone numbers, and I just solicit these guys on my own. So we'll kind of get into talking a little bit more about that, but that's one thing I wanted to point out with or with doing a payment plan. Let's see. I already had a few inquiries, and I want to go with a plan before me, and I want to go in with a plan before meeting anyone. Have you ever done this before? Would you hypothetically have any interest in an arrangement like paying someone a percentage of your monthly income for a year or two to be fully self-employed and ready to make and a ready-made client group? Is franchising something normal little people do? Maybe I could keep my business name and start again in my new city. I would love your input. Thank you. Also, any suggestions on where to post this business would be awesome. So, I've never started a dog walking or pet sitting business. I have started a number of different service businesses. I've done window washing, power washing, but the main thing was landscaping. I think I've set up and sold 3 different landscaping businesses. And one thing with service businesses, man, people don't give you much value for them. In regards to equipment, even if you have brand new equipment that's only been used for one season, not a lot of hours on them, people try to pay you peanuts for the equipment. I think typically it's because when somebody's getting out of a service business, I think people who are buying these businesses know that you kind of have them by the balls. Like, yeah, there's some people who are just kind of like, yeah, I'm ready to move on to other things. But normally when somebody's selling a service business, it's because they can't provide the service anymore. Typically it's a one-man operation or a small crew. It's not something that's easy to bring an employee and have them run it for you. So a lot of times when people are selling a service business, it's because they're moving. It's because maybe they have health issues and can't run the business. And kind of the choice that they have is take whatever you can get for the business versus, even if you're selling it for peanuts, versus just walking away from the business and walking away with nothing to show for everything that you've built up. And I think a lot of people who are buying service businesses kind of realize this, and kind of take advantage of it. Like I said, when I sold the landscaping business initially, we had $20,000 worth of equipment. It had been used for barely even a full season. We actually got started late in the year. We started the business in probably May, and we had sold the business by September. I think I was working with the new crew maybe into October, kind of showing them the routes and things like that. But we were barely running the business for a full season, and even though we had the $20,000 worth of brand new equipment, zero-turn mowers, a bobcat mower, all this new stuff, brand new trailer, people were trying to give us like $5,000 for the equipment, which in our minds was worth a lot more than that. We actually did, because we kind of held out and found the right buyer. We did get a little bit more money for the equipment. We did come out pretty good there. You're also going to be lowballed when it comes to clients, and I know in the landscaping or lawn mowing industry, a lot of times, essentially what most people are willing to pay you is 2 mows. A lot of times, traditionally, when you talk about valuating a business, a lot of people are going to say 2.5 or 3 times earnings. So, in the case of this business, if it's making 40K a year, you get 80K, 100K. Best case scenario, maybe 120K. You're never going to get that, in my opinion, for a dog walking business, but that's kind of the general guidance a lot of people are going to give you when they're talking about business valuations. Typically, I think if someone's going to pay that much, the business should have been in business for at least 7 years. They should be able to show at least 7 years of documented profitability, tax returns, etc. Um, and ideally there'll be maybe some employees, some equipment, some best practices and policies like that in place. It sounds like this business was very successful, but it sounds like you're kind of the backbone of the business. And a problem people have when they're buying a business like this is your customers use you because they know, like, and trust you. So when a new person comes in, a lot of customers are going to drop right off the bat. A lot of customers, especially in the landscaping industry, a lot of customers are going to use that as an excuse to not pay. So, the new owner takes over. If they bill monthly or whatever, they do a month worth of mowing for you, and then the bill comes and it's a different company name, and people just decide not to pay. And especially if it's towards the end of the season, but even if it's not towards the end of the season, they'll just stiff somebody for a month of service and then go out and hire another landscaping business, and they got a month of service for free. I remember when I was doing the landscaping, it was kind of funny how I fell into it. Initially, me and my partner were only supposed to be funding the business, and the gentleman who we were kind of going to fund the business and turn it over to eventually, and who was going to kind of, through sweat equity, kind of buy the business from us, he wound up being a total nightmare. It wound up me running the landscaping business most of the summer. And at the end of the summer, when we sold the business, we're kind of trying to keep it under wraps that it was being sold, because we knew that a lot of people would drop. And that's exactly what happened. I think the last week I said bye to one of my clients, and she was like, "Oh, you're not going to be coming here anymore?" And she was probably a little bit more involved with us than your average customer. She was somebody, when we showed up every week, she would come out and she'd bring 3 sodas out, one for me and 2 for my guys. and she'd chat with us a bit. And we had a great relationship with her. Not all the, some customers weren't even home. Not all the customers were that involved or that engaged with us, but you are going to have a lot of people who, when you're the name and when you're the face of the business and when you're the person that earned their business, they may not want to go with somebody who kind of comes on board and just kind of takes over the business. So that's one challenge. I think you're probably lucky to get two walks out of somebody. So, if you charge 25 bucks a walk, that client's going to be worth 50 bucks to the new owner. And one other thing you have to consider is what is the cost of acquiring a customer? And you should know this about your business. So, I don't know if you're using Facebook ads, Google AdWords, flyers, maybe there's some type of lead service. But what are you able to get a new customer for? And in the landscaping business, running AdWords or doing something like Thumbtack, I could land a new client for, I don't know, $3.50. So if somebody were selling a business, essentially the value of a customer to me, the value of a customer to me was $3.50, because that's what I could go land a new customer for. So, whereas a typical valuation might say 2.5 times revenue, 3 times revenue, or where somebody might say, it's two services. Well, two services in this case is $50 if you're charging 25 bucks a pop for the dog walking. But if I can go on Google AdSense or Rover or Thumbtack and pick up a client for $3, well, then that's what your client accounts are worth a piece, $3 a piece. With this type of business, if at all possible, I think the best scenario would bring in kind of a partial owner operator. Bring in somebody who is looking to run their own business, do maybe a 70-30 or an 80-20 split with them. So, they're going to get the vast majority of the profits because they're actually the ones on the ground. They're in the city. They're doing the work day to day. They're the ones walking the dogs. But you're going to get some money for essentially for building the business. You're going to get 20 to 30%. And I think that could be a pretty good way of doing things. You could still stay involved with the billing and the customer service. You could still be the voice on the phone talking to your customers, but just let them know, I got a new dog walker, working with me. She'll be by the house on Tuesday to meet you. You can get to know her. If you have any questions, as always, reach out to me. And that way, you still keep contact with the customers. The customers still know that you're involved and engaged with the business, but you're not having to do the work. You can live across the country, and you can still continue to earn some money from this business. I know you had talked briefly about franchising. I think you'd probably have to get some lawyers involved for that. It could be well worth it if you want to kind of keep this brand and try to start a new branch in your city and continue to kind of grow this dog walking brand. That could be a good strategy as well, but it's going to be a little bit more complicated, and you probably will need to get some lawyers involved. And then lastly, you could reach out to some existing dog walking companies. I would go for kind of the mid-tier ones, not the brand new startups and not the really big or the established ones. Go for the mid-tier ones, the ones who are established, who have some money, but who also you think might be kind of looking to grow. And I think that's where you might be able to get the most value out of that client list if you are actually just going to sell the client list. So that's kind of my thoughts on this. I'd love to hear from you guys. Any of you guys who have, best off if you've had a dog walking business or a pet sitting business, I'd love to hear from you. But really, anybody who's had a service business, window washing, power washing, what's your thoughts? What is the typical valuation for kind of a one-man or a one-woman service business? I imagine maybe Kevin the window cleaner can chime in on this. I know Kevin the window cleaner has been cleaning windows for a while. I wouldn't be surprised if he's maybe acquired some smaller companies or maybe bought some client lists. So Kevin, buddy, if you're listening, if you're watching, feel free to chime in. And anybody else who's had a service business, power washing, landscaping, window washing, anything like that, whether you've sold a business, bought clients, sold clients, what's a typical valuation? What challenges have you faced buying a new business? Would love to hear from you, so drop a comment in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, smash that subscribe button below, and we'll catch you on the next episode, guys.